Hello everyone, and welcome to Introduction to Philosophy at Aiken Tech, Spring 2020, PHI 101067. And I'm Professor Burris. I look forward to working with all of you for the next few months. And what I want to do in this video is basically go over the syllabus and give you a sense of what things are going to look like for this class, what your assignments are going to be, what you need to do, give you kind of a layout of what's going on in Blackboard. So that's my intention here. Also, at the conclusion of this, so once this video is up, there will also be a place in the discussion board where if people have questions, they can ask them there. If you want to ask them in the open, or you want to email me, you can do that as well. So to go ahead and get started, looking at your syllabus for this class and going over what we're going to do and what the assignments are. So what this class is, stated on the first page of the syllabus, is this is an introduction to philosophy. I'm of the understanding that you probably haven't been exposed to any philosophy directly before, per se. But so what this class is going to be is just that. It's an introduction to philosophy. It's methods of inquiry, analysis, criticism. This is going to be fairly done in a way that's fairly historical, looking at the progressions of philosophy throughout history, including its subdivisions. I'm going to say a bunch of words now that probably don't mean anything to you yet. Metaphysics, epistemology, aesthetics, philosophy of religion, philosophy of history, history of philosophy, all that stuff together. So it's an introduction to this, looking at things very basically as they've progressed through history, cross-culturally construed. So the majority of the class is going to be on Western philosophy because that's typically what's been studied in canon. But I intend to do some stuff in Eastern philosophy as well as Jewish and Islamic philosophy in the Middle Ages that's often not done in intra-courses. But I want to go ahead and incorporate that in here. So according to your syllabus, some of the things that you'll have to do is read out of the required textbook. That's sort of true. The textbook for this class, which is on the syllabus on page 2, is Mulvaney's Classical Philosophical Questions. However, the majority of readings I'm going to do for this class are things that I'm going to put up on Blackboard. One of the good things about doing philosophy is this stuff most of the texts have been in the public domain for a while because they've been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So the majority of what I intend for you to read for this class is actually stuff I'm going to put up online. For example, right now, the first thing we're going to read is a work called Euthyphro by Plato. It's already up. If you look under the assignments tab, you'll see something that says texts. In there, Plato's Euthyphro is already there. And so the majority of what we're going to do in here in terms of reading will actually be stuff that you'll just get the PDFs on Blackboard. You can either print them out or have them on the screen and read them. So when it says read out of the required textbook, the textbook will be helpful to the class, and I know it says required on the syllabus, but then what we'll really be reading is the stuff that I'll be putting up on Blackboard. So you'll need to be able to do that. Another thing you'll need to be able to do is there's a lot of I have a series of audio lectures from when I've done this. I did this stuff in the classroom, so you'll be listening to those lectures. I think each lecture is about roughly 50 minutes or less each episode, of which I believe there are 36 total for the semester. So you'll need to you can either listen to those in the browser, in Blackboard. However, all the MP3s are downloadable. So if you want to download them, put them onto an MP3 player or on your phone and listen to them whenever you have the opportunity to do so. That's entirely fine too. You can even get some MP3 players or applications that will allow you to play it at a faster speed if you want to do that. And so you can kind of listen and take notes, or listen multiple. You can listen as much or as little, be careful, as you want. And also in addition to that, there are a series of slides that accompany the lectures, and those are found under the Sway. Those are Microsoft Sway presentations. They're like PowerPoints, but what I like about Sway over PowerPoint, both of which are made by Microsoft, is Sway's automatically optimized to whatever device you're looking at them on. So the links for the Sway, if you look at them on your phone, they'll automatically fit and render the way they're supposed to in a way that makes sense on your phone. If you're looking at them on your computer screen, It'll render it to the computer screen appropriately, or tablet, or whatever it is you're looking at it on. It will Sway's automatically optimize to that particular format, and you can go through those slides as you're listening to the lectures or separately. That's the way. That's basically what most of your assignments are going to look like. Other things you need to do in Blackboard: you'll have to submit a few papers in Blackboard. I'll explain what those look like in a moment, and you'll need to take 2 exams in Blackboard. One, the midterm, you'll kind of do at home on your own, and the final exam you'll do in person, but the format will be identical, except we all show up together, but the exam will be the exact same kind of format. So what am I expecting you to do? These are the learning outcomes for the course. What do I expect you to do by the end of the course? Now we're going to do, again, introduction. We're going to go into this, but we'll eventually accomplish all these goals by the end of the semester. That's what my goal is for you to do. So what do I want you to do? Recall and identify the major thinkers, schools, core philosophical questions. So when I say somebody like Plato, you go, oh, I know who that is. Maybe you don't grasp everything about them, but you at least have some sense of recognition. You can recall and identify who these people are. You can interpret and explain core philosophical questions and concepts. So when we talk about, say, something later on, like Plato's theory of forms or Descartes' ontological argument, those things are probably meaningless to you now. But once we get to those things, you can go, okay, I know what that refers to. I don't necessarily know every nook and cranny about it, but I know what it refers to. Apply core philosophical questions and concepts to contemporary issues. How does this stuff apply today? That's what I expect you to be able to do. Compare and contrast related core philosophical questions and concepts. These things that people said here, how does this apply in another domain? How are these things related? Plato said this about one thing, but Aristotle said this about the thing. How are their takes on these particular issues different? And then justify a sound philosophical position on a topic. So in your papers, I want you to be able to speak authoritatively or write authoritatively about whatever it is that we're discussing at the moment. Do yourself back up what you're saying. I think that's one of the most important things about learning how to write and communicate in a philosophy course, is learning how to say things boldly, surely, but also backing it up. Just like if you were in court and someone said, someone was prosecuting somebody and said, we think the client did, we think the defendant did this. Well, what's your evidence? Well, I don't know. It's a shrug of the shoulders. That would be insufficient evidence to back up a claim. If you're going to say something, or even if you think it's an opinion or it's an assertion, or even if it's an argument, back up whatever it is that you're saying. If you're trying to put forth some kind of claim. Again, now I'm about bottom of page 2 into page 3 of the syllabus. My email, which is on the syllabus as well, is burrist@atc.edu. There is a little bottom of page 2 into page 3, what email should look like. Please don't email me by just saying, hey, what's my grade on this? Or, hey, what about this? Make sure you identify who you are and what class you're in, because I have several classes and I may not know which class it is that you're referring to, so I don't want to mix that up. So please communicate to me clearly, stating who you are and what class you're in and what you're asking about. Now there's some other additional student learning outcomes that are basically further elements of what I said a moment ago. You can look at those. They're on page 3 of your syllabus. Attendance policy, I'll go ahead and say that obviously we're in online classes. There's not really attendance in the same kind of way, but here at Aiken Tech we do count attendance online. And basically what I can do is I can see when you log in to Blackboard, how often I can check dates in that way. So I'm going to make sure that you're in there every couple of days, and if I find that people haven't been there in a while, I'll probably give you an email as a refresher, hey, you need to come in and do this. But for the most part, while I want you logging in, looking at the discussion boards that will be present, I want you to be encouraged to do most of the stuff at your own pace. Basically, there will be assignments due, papers due at the end of every month, January, February, March, not April, and then a midterm probably at the end of February and the final in late April. Well, that stuff will be there. For the most part, with those exceptions, you can kind of do this at your own pace. All the lectures are already up for the entire semester. All the slides are already up for the entire semester. 3 of the assignments are already up, and I'll have the midterm up probably here in the next couple weeks, but you can kind of do this for the most part at your own pace. What I do ask on the assignments, please take a look at the academic dishonesty policy on page 4. Please don't cheat. You can, I mean, all the exams and papers are going to be open book, open note, open slide. You can have with the exception of the final exam, you can have the slides open right next to you while you're doing the exam, online in the browser. So that stuff will be available to you. Again, the only exception being the final exam. You'll have to do completely on your own. Let's talk about the assignments now and how everything adds up. So basically, there are 3 things to do for this course that are graded, or 3 types of things. All right, so this all adds up to 100%. First of all, there are 2 exams, each worth 30% of your final grade. The first exam being the midterm, the second exam being the final exam. They're both worth 30%, or that's 30% each. There'll be probably about 25 or so multiple choice fill in the blank questions, which will come directly from the slide presentations and the audio, directly from there. And I don't try and look for the most obscure things. It'll be things that are very front and center that will be covered in those questions. And you'll do those like I said, in Blackboard, 25 multiple choice fill in the blank questions. And then that will be half your exam grade for each. And also the exam will have little essay questions as well, which you'll have beforehand, and it'll probably be about 6 to 8 questions that you don't have to do all of them. You'll pick 2 that you do, and then you'll do those 2 questions. So you'll have like a bank of 8 questions that you can choose from, and you'll write on 2 of them. Now the way the midterm is going to work is once those questions are up, you'll have like a week to work on them. You can get it done at your own pace. You don't have to do just whichever thing you decide to do. You'll have to complete that in one sitting. So if you decide to do the multiple choice questions, you'll have like an hour to work on that. Once you do that, you're good. And you want to come back later and do one of the essay questions, you can do that. In fact, I encourage, look at the essay questions. You can write them at your own pace on your own, and then just copy and paste that in when you're submitting the essay questions for the exams. Also, what you'll have to do is 3 2-page weekly analyses. So what it says on the syllabus is that 3 times this semester you'll do a weekly analysis report. This is a 2-page paper, and I mean 2 full pages, where you just say in your own words something that we talked about. Now, I have roughly like a week's worth as kind of a bar for what I'd like you to do in terms of time. But really, you can just you can talk about something that we discussed in just about 2 pages. So if you're interested in something that we did at one point in the semester, it doesn't have to be a week's worth of material. Just talk about something that we talked about in your own words. This is not a research paper. That's why these are short. We're going to do this 3 times. It's not a research paper, just in your own words. Here's what we talked about. What your thoughts are on it, in your own words. I'm not looking for you to copy and paste from Wikipedia. I'm not looking for you to go do deep research. I just want your response to something that we discussed. And I want you to do that 3 times throughout the semester. It'll be due on the last day of each month for the first 3 months. So at the end of January, so January 31st, February 29th, because it's a leap year, and then March 31st. And each one of those papers is worth 10% of your final grade. So collectively, they're as much as an exam. Okay? So, and there's a format, Chicago manual style, double-spaced, 12-point, Times New Roman, in a Microsoft Word document. Now, what is already up on Blackboard, if you go to the Assignments tab, and you look at the Weekly Analyses folder, all 3 of them are already ready there. The drop boxes are already there. And what you'll do is, for whatever reason, the Weekly Analysis 1 keeps going into the middle. I don't know why that's the case. So it says Weekly Analysis 2, Weekly Analysis 1, Weekly Analysis 3 when you look at the page, at least from my angle. And every time I put Weekly Analysis 1 back at the top, it somehow keeps going back into the middle. But if you look at Weekly Analysis 1, you'll see that there are 3 attached files here. There's a formatting exemplar. If you click that and open it, it's exactly what the format should look like for the paper. In a Microsoft Word document, there it is. That's exactly what the paper should look like in terms of format. And also, with students' permission, I have an example of a good paper what a good weekly analysis looks like, and also what a weak weekly analysis looks like. So you've got examples there of both a good one and kind of it's not really a terrible one, it's kind of meh. But you also have how Chicago manual style should work, which is a little bit different from MLA or APA, but there's an exemplar for you right there. So if you click that and open it up, make sure you've got the comments visible on there. So you go up to review and hit show comments. It'll have my commentary on here's how to cite this kind of thing, here's how to do this. So all that is there. So 3 times throughout the semester you'll do that. And then the final additional aspect, you'll notice that adds up to 90 points so far. The final thing is a discussion board. So 10%. So what I want you to do is at least on 3 threads, and I'll be putting threads up throughout the semester. So, you know, we discuss something in the audio and on the slides. I'll say, hey, what did you think about this? And it'll be a little less formal than the weekly analyses. It'll be your responses to things, and you can interact with each other as well, which I think is great in these online settings. It's something that we can do. And I'm pretty much going to let you, once I kind of start a discussion board, I'm going to let it just kind of grow on its own. And so 3 times throughout the semester, I want you to put at least a response of 4 to 5 sentences 3 times in at least 3 threads. So, you know, that's once a month. I want you to write a blurb on a discussion board thread, okay, in response to something that I have said, or perhaps in response to others. And so basically that boils down to each time you do a response to a thread, that's like 3 1/3 of points of your final grade. So add it all up together, that's 100 points. Like I said, the weekly analyses have set dates. I kind of want to see how the discussions boards go and what everybody's progress looks like making their way through the audio and the slides before I set a concrete date for the midterm. My estimate right now is that it's probably going to be at the end of February or the beginning of March, thereabouts. So somewhere between, say, February 21st and March 7th is probably when the midterm is going to be due, but I'll have some stuff up for it very soon. Also, I have a general outline of how it's going to be divided throughout the semester. So if you look at the very end of the syllabus, these are pages 6 and 7, you'll see basically there's the first half of the semester, pre-Socratics through medieval Jewish philosophy, and that's what the midterm will be on, all that stuff right there. And then also there's the second module, which is everything to pretty much the Middle Ages to the present day, is what we'll be doing in that second module. And so the final exam won't be cumulative, it'll really just mainly cover the stuff from the second half of the semester. I mean, we'll sometimes in some ways kind of refer back to that early stuff, but really it's not cumulative. It'll just be about that particular module on the whole. So I will have a concrete assignment out here for you in a couple minutes as well. Basically, it's going to be to listen to the lectures. Your first assignment is going to be to listen to the lectures on the pre-Socratics and to look at the Microsoft Sway presentation on pre-Socratic philosophy as well. That's going to be the first assignment. The pre-Socratics, we don't really have much of what they wrote down because it was a long time ago. So there really is no reading assignment until we get to looking at Socrates and Plato. So for now, if you want to jump right in, you can look at those Microsoft Sway presentations. Excuse me. You can look at those Microsoft Sway presentations on pre-Socratic philosophy and listen to the audio lectures. The Microsoft Sways can be found under the Assignments tab, Sways folder. You'll see them all there in the chronological order of how we're going out throughout the semester. It actually matches what's on the very end of the syllabus. And for the lecture audio, to see where those audio lectures are, you hit the Assignments tab, and you'll see very first folder at the very top is lecture audio. I've put every single episode into its own folder. That way, all 36 episodes don't autoplay at once, in which case you hear a chorus of my voice, which is terrifying. So the first 2 episodes, each are about 50 minutes a pop. Right there, you can click in, and like I said, once you get in there, if you can download the audio or you can listen to it in the browser as well. So looking at the Assignments tab, let me explain some of the folders just to make sure that's clear. Lecture audio is the very first one. That's where all 36 episodes are going to be when I refer to the episodes. Underneath that are the Sways. Those are the kind of like PowerPoint presentations. that accompany the lecture audio. Under that will be the texts, the things that I want you to read. So when I say read this, it will be in that folder. So right now there's only one thing there that is going to change very quickly. Underneath that are the weekly analyses. Those are your 3 written assignments that we're going to do, the 2-page papers that we're going to do once a month until the end of March. Underneath that is the midterm exam. So when we get there, every component will be in there. There will be 3 folders, one for one essay, one for another essay, and one for the objective content. That's the multiple choice fill in the blank questions. And underneath that is the final exam that will have the same format as the midterm. So I'm going to be uploading this video right now. And then I'm going to put up a discussion board thread that says any questions you have about the syllabus or to the introduction to this class, feel free to respond to that. Also, if you want to ask me a question privately, again, my email is on the syllabus, Burrus, that's B as in boy, U-R-R-U-S, Burr like cold and us like we people, burrust@atc.edu. Since this is an online class, I'm available by online and by appointment, so if we want to get together, and you have questions for me that you want to ask me in person, we'll find a time where we can meet. We can meet wherever. I live in Augusta, but I work in Aiken. You want to, hey, can we meet at Starbucks and talk about this? I'll try and make time for you. Also, we can, if we need to Skype in some way or get together, it's hard to schedule things. I know some of you have some pretty vexing work schedules, so if you need to get together by some other means, I will find a way to communicate with you and to help you succeed with this course. Again, I look forward to working with you. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'd rather hear from you earlier rather than later. And have a good start to your spring 2020. Bye-bye.